Greetings and welcome to this week's Midweek Meditation with the Minister. I'm Reverend Don Fortune of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the South Jersey Shore. In November, our theme to consider is holding history, and there's a lot to think about in November with regards to that. It is, for United States, it is the time of the Thanksgiving holiday, and our understanding of the events around that time have shifted enormously in the last 50 years, and we have a better understanding now of what the reality was between the colonizers from Europe and the native peoples who were here. In that the native peoples were being obliterated. There was a genocide actively happening against them by the European colonizers. So there's a lot to think about it just in that one little slice of history. But I also want to look at our religious history as Unitarian Universalists, specifically the Unitarian end of things. November 12th would have been the birthday of James Luther Adams. He was born in 1901 and lived until 1994. And I want to read you a little piece from the Dictionary of Unitarian and Universalist Biographies. This is a piece written by Eric Van Fox and Alice Blair Wesley, and it's from 2000. You can check out biographies of all different kinds of cool Unitarians and Universalists by just doing a Google for the Dictionary of Unitarian and Universalist Biography. Loads of stuff there. Great resource. So here's the deal. Before joining the faculty of Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago, he was invited to be a professor. He spent a year in Germany. He says, yes, I'll take the job, but I want to spend a year in Germany. The year was 1935. And he went there to observe and to study and to watch what was happening on the ground. And he watched, so now I'm going to read from the article. In Germany during 1935 to 1936, Adams watched as the Nazi government of Adolf Hitler ruthlessly crushed any and all dissent as it marshaled forces for its coming march across the continent. Interrogated by the Gestapo, he narrowly avoided imprisonment as a result of his engagement with the underground church movement. Using a home movie camera, he filmed Karl Barth, Albert Schweitzer, and others, including those who were involved in clandestine church-related resistance groups, as well as pro-Nazi leaders of the so-called German Christian Church. Adams returned to the United States more convinced than ever that the tendency of religious liberals to be theologically content with vague slogans and platitudes about open-mindedness could only render liberal churches irrelevant and impotent in the face of the world's evils. And he stated his convictions loudly and frequently. And so this is something that religious liberals struggle with always. We have this foundational principle that all people have inherent worth and dignity, even the ones that do horrible, horrible, evil things. Where we struggle is how do we hold those people to account? We like to say that we are open-minded, but sometimes that leaves us without good boundaries about what can be done or said that we will permit. For instance, will we permit physical violence in our places? Well, of course not, no. But the fortitude, the strength to step in and say, stop, you don't get to do that here, is something else entirely. It's hard as an individual, it's hard as a group. Reinhold Niebuhr talked about moral man and immoral society, in that one person will say, if you ask them, is this right or wrong, they will say, that is right. And then if you get that person in a group of people, is this right or wrong, a lot of times they won't say because they don't want to be at odds with what their community might think. And so this is something that we struggle with. Albert Schweitzer wrote about this extensively, about how religious liberals, he said, don't really have a theology of evil. We don't quite know what to do with it. And so that's what I'm thinking about this week. What do we do with evil? What do we, as progressives, as people who try to be welcoming and try to be understanding and try to be compassionate, what do we do when something is just plain evil? Is there a place where we say, no, that is not acceptable no matter what, no matter how, no matter who? And what do we do when we get there? What do we do when we get there? It's a lot to think about. I hope you join me Sunday for worship. We meet in person at our sanctuary at 75 Pomona Road in Galloway, New Jersey. You can join us online as well. You can check out our Facebook feed. The link is on our website, uucsjs.org. I hope you'll join us. It's 10 a.m. Eastern, whether it's standard or daylight or whatever it is these days. I think we're in standard time. Join us for the exploration and to wrestle with those difficult, uncomfortable things. Be well now.